What's up, residents? Jacob here. Fans of Godzilla, specifically Legendary's Monsterverse, should be well aware of the Gman's fellow monsters that will be starring in the upcoming blockbuster Godzilla King of the Monsters. King Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra are all iconic and well-known characters that have been around for decades. And we can't forget about the Mutos from the 2014 Godzilla movie. But what if we told you that the Mutos weren't the first monsters that the Monsterverse Godzilla has faced since awakening during the time of mankind? Yep, there was another found in the comic Godzilla Awakening, a prequel story to the 2014 Godzilla, a monster that tested Godzilla to his absolute limits, and was the wake-up call that the King of the Monsters needed before facing off against the Mutos and the threats to come in the future. The ShinoMura, the monster that fought Godzilla for years and years, a battle that started before the time of the dinosaurs. Want to find out more? Hit the like button and subscribe, and let's get to it! The ShinoMura was a giant winged creature that looked a lot like a mixture between a dragon and a scorpion. It was mostly black in color, although it did have a blue hue to its scales that gave it a unique and interesting look. What is probably the most fascinating part of the monster's appearance was that it had what appears to be parts of itself that aren't completely connected to the body. Almost looking like the monster had a lava lamp-like effect around its body. And there's actually a pretty neat reason behind this, but we will get to that here in a little. ShinoMura translates in Japanese to Swarm of Death, and once you learn about this monster, you will probably see why. Longtime fans of Godzilla may see some of the similarities that this monster has with Ghidorah and Destroya. All three of these monsters are composed of multiple smaller organisms that can rip apart and then come back together again all at will. Hence the particles that were mentioned earlier that surround the ShinoMura's body. And this ability was a big factor in why Godzilla struggled to end this monster's terrible and destructive reign. One single cell can regenerate into a complete ShinoMura. A trait that is shared with some real-life critters. It feeds on radiation to grow in size, and once a big enough size is reached, it was even capable of bullying and manhandling Godzilla. Because of its composite structure, the ShinoMura is able to shape its combined form however it chooses, allowing it to form extra appendages such as tentacles, claws, pincers, and much more. However, the monster's not invincible. Much like the T-1000 from Terminator 2, the ShinoMura could be killed for good if all the body was destroyed at once. The Terminator fell into the lava and wasn't able to regenerate itself, and the ShinoMura in the Godzilla Awakening story was in the end destroyed by an atomic blast. So let's get to this story, the story of Godzilla Awakening, and let's make the ShinoMura be the focal point. Way back, about 250 million years ago, yes, before the dinosaurs, a ShinoMura landed on an island to feast on the remains of some dead ancient beast. This is when the epic battle between the ShinoMura and Godzilla first started. Godzilla, being the alpha predator that he is, attacked the ShinoMura. And although he clearly had the advantage against the parasitic life form, he wasn't able to kill it. During their fight, an asteroid struck the Earth, and we talked about this event in an earlier video on the channel. Go check it out. This asteroid ended their fight, at least for a couple 100 million years, give or take. The impact from the asteroid cracked open the Earth's surface, and the ShinoMura's body fell into the giant fissure. There it remained trapped all the way until 1945. Take a quick guess on what woke the monster up. Yep, the detonation of the atomic bombs that were dropped on Japan. The ShinoMura was awake and ready to destroy everything. It traveled the entire world looking for nuclear energy to allow itself to grow even more powerful. It went to Russia, Australia, New Zealand. No matter where it went though, Godzilla was always hot on its tail, wanting to finish what he started 250 million years ago. But no matter how hard he tried, he just wasn't able to do it. He would destroy most of one ShinoMura, but there would be just a little bit left that would regenerate and form a whole new monster. Towards the end of this battle, Godzilla and the two forms of the ShinoMura that were created due to the original one being broke apart continued their epic battle. The two smaller ShinoMura forms merged into a larger one. Godzilla was able to break the two monsters apart, killing one of the ShinoMura, but the other one was allowed to escape. And this is when humanity took things into their own hands. A trap was set for both creatures. Humans knew that radiation was the fuel to these giant monsters. The ShinoMura would be attracted to the radiation, and Godzilla would certainly follow. Remember the nuclear tests that were staged in the beginning of Godzilla 2014? These tests were used as a cover-up story at the attempt to kill Godzilla. And this is exactly what happened right here. The plan was to use the atomic bomb to kill both the ShinoMura and Godzilla. So the humans detonated the bomb on Monster Island, destroying everything. The ShinoMura could not take the blast, and thus was vaporized, completely ending the reign of the ShinoMura monster. No more reforming. But what humans didn't get is that Godzilla is not some sort of chump. This is when they realized that the strongest weapon ever made by mankind stood no chance against the might of Godzilla. The Gman survived, and for the next 70 years Monarch and humans followed him around, leading up to the story of Godzilla 2014. So residents, I thought this story was pretty fascinating. You know, usually it's Godzilla that has to kill the monsters while humanity is just left helpless. But this time it was the other way around. Yeah, Godzilla was kicking the hell out of the ShinoMura every single time, but he just didn't get what it took to kill the monster. You couldn't let any of it escape. You couldn't break off a part of it. It was just going to form into another one. Godzilla's smart, but he's still an animal. So if it wasn't for humans deciding to nuke the entire island, the ShinoMura would have just kept going around with Godzilla hot on its tail. I'm not sure if Godzilla would have ever been able to fully kill the ShinoMura. You have to remember that he fought the ShinoMura for years and years. He killed the Mutos in just a few attempts. Most people don't know about the ShinoMura, but maybe now some of you will actually respect the monster. And maybe, just maybe, it earned its place amongst the ranks of all the famous kaiju. What do you think, residents? Do you think Godzilla, King of the Monsters, should mention the ShinoMura? Or do you think this monster is just kind of dumb in general and just should be left to die in the comics? If you feel like helping the channel out and allowing more videos like this to be made, feel free to go on over to our Dangerville Patreon. We're also thinking about doing the YouTube membership program deal, so if you have any thoughts on that, feel free to let us know what you think. As always, residents, this has been Jacob, and peace out.